Hello everyone, Zelarinth here, and for today's video we have a lot to talk about as the wedding event for Umamusume will be dropping tomorrow, and with that we'll be getting 3 new SSR support cards as well as 2 new Umas. Now one of the support cards being the free one we'll get from the event, and then we'll have 2 on the gacha banner and as well with the Umas. And so the free SSR we'll be able to get is a Rice Shower Wit. On the support card gacha banner we have Power Haru Urara as well as Stamina Ikuno Dictus. And then on the Uma banner, we have Wedding Curren as well as Wedding Fine Motion. Now, we're going to take a look at the support cards first, the first one being the free Rice Shower Wit, and then the other support cards and the Umas, and kind of discuss whether or not you're going to want to pull on these gacha banners. So going into this event here, just like all the other events we've had, you're going to be grinding out as you do runs to get points, to earn all the rewards here. Nothing's really changed at this point. You just want to make sure you get all the way down to at least, in my opinion, the Rainbow Shard. Although if you can get right above that, you have the last hint book. And if you want that additional 500 carats, it's not that far off. Realistically, you should be getting all the way to the top here if you're playing a decent amount. Even if as a casual, if you're more casual, only doing like 1 run a day, you can just use the double TP option to double the value of the run. Now, when it comes to the support card that you're going to earn over time on this one, so this one you will get free MLB. It's going to be a Rice Shower Wit card. And so this is really not a good card. This is really only going to be useful to free-to-plays just now getting into the game as a stat stick Wit. Take a look at it. Gets 10 training effectiveness when her bond gauge is up to 80. She has 25% friendship bonus, wit recovery of 5, speed bonus 1, which is always nice. Race bonus 5%, making it usable, but ultimately you're not liking those 5% because they can really add up depending what your other support cards are. Hint levels 2, hint frequency 30%. We'll take a look at the hints here and you can kind of see, I mean, it's Rice Shower, what you get with like the power card. Same thing as the power one that we had on the Rico banner, pretty much. Special priority 20, so not really high there, but decently on the initial friendship gauge and wit bonus. Now, of course, in the skills here, I mean, it's basically the same stuff with what you got with Rice Shower card, Pace Chaser Savvy, Deep Breaths, Pace Chaser Corners, probably being more of the useful ones is that and Feature Act. And then maybe Straight Descent for, I forget which track, I think it's Hanshin, that has it where you can kind of gamble on the downhill for acceleration with that. But what makes this ultimately a really bad card is going to be the gold skill here. Shatterproof, it's a Pace Chaser Acceleration in the mid-race. So it's already bad. Acceleration in the mid-race is really bad because the only thing it helps you with is if you pop another speed skill with it. It'll help you accelerate up to that new speed. Well, that's it. Unless you're trying to basically gamble and have carryover into the late race, which you can kind of see with the sprints being really the only ones that you really want to take those. But then it also has towards the back, which is now Pace Chasers are typically towards the front. Unless you're in something that's more back heavy, which you're never really going to see in the sprints anyway. And so just terrible all-around skill. There's so many better options out there. You do have access to firm conditions in Kyoto race course from events, but ultimately you're only going to want to use this card as a stat stick if you have nothing else to use. And most people, if you've been playing for a little bit, probably have Fine Motion. I would even take the SR Agnes Tachyon, Marvelous Sunday, as well as many other options over this one. Better stat sticks, more race bonus. But I mean, it's a free card. What are you going to do? Just go ahead and make sure you get it MLB. You never know. I mean, you do. I'll never use this card. I know I'll never use it, but I like to collect the cards. Now, when it comes to the other ones, these are the ones on the gacha banner. The first one, take a look here, is going to be Power Haru Urara. Now, you probably already know the power of the free Guts one we have with the Guts build. Very, very strong stat stick for Guts, as well as having big energy in the vents. And so with this one, it's, I mean, Haru Urara is basically the same, like, throughout in all of hers, in the fact that she has no actual hints in the card that you can get, which means whenever you basically get a hint off of her, you get stats. But she has increased skill point gain in her unique effect. Skill points, always useful to get. And then she has it down here as well, so 2 skill points per hint, which is basically her main value. As a power card here, friendship bonus 20%, decent initial friendship, race bonus 10%, making her valuable right off the bat. In Track Blazer, initial power 20, training effectiveness 10%. So pretty solid stat stick here. But when you get down to her skills from events, hard worker, just all around not a good skill, kind of just another gamble trying to get acceleration at the right timing. Very bad overall. Long shot also another one, unless maybe the free to plays where you're generally not going to have your Umas in the top 4 can be a very good one. But outside of that, I mean, not really worth it. So as a support card itself, nothing too crazy. I mean, it's a really solid power stat stick. Can get you a lot of skill points. That's all good for it. Not warranted to pull. But I'm going to take a look at the other support card here. This is the Ikuno Dictus Stamina card. And this one, the higher total bond of all your supports. So this one's tied to all the support cards. She gets more training effectiveness. So once you've kind of maxed out your bond, which ultimately for a high run in Track Blazer, you really need to max them as soon as possible. And then that's just kind of in general trying to max them. You'll get more training effectiveness off her. She does have the 10% race bonus, which is good. A pretty solid stat stick on friendship bonus for stamina, which when we look at her gold skill, you're definitely going to need if you were to run this as a whale who pulls on this banner. Initial friendship gauge, 25. Pretty good there. Some initial guts, stamina bonus, hint levels 3, which I like 4, but 3 is pretty good. It basically, to me, whenever you're using a hint levels 3 support card, my always target for those are you're going to prune out the skills, meaning when you hit the skill from the hint, if it's not like one of the double circled ones, you can take it because it's already going to be a very cheap skill at that point with a pretty good discount to prune it and then try and get the other ones versus something like Muteki, which has hint level 4, where it immediately maxes it, which is even better. Now, I will say hers is all, I mean, it's just like the Guts one, all tied to the late surger stuff here. Not too bad. Late surger corners, position, pilfer, late surger savvy. But the new thing we have coming with her is going to be keep going. She's our first instance of seeing the gold version of Full Throttle. I don't know if Full Throttle's in the game yet or not, or if they've, well, we should have it at this point if they haven't given us the install, where you should be just able to randomly pick up this skill. But it is a very big mid-race speed skill, so very good for pushing your late surgers up at a 0.45. It's a greatly. But it has a downside to it. Greatly consume endurance. So this one is going to increase your stamina requirement because it's a negative 0.02. Now, it's not quite terrible. I mean, you have plenty of heals that like are way more than this. But this is significant enough that you would really want to think about where you like it kind of changes where your target stamina would be and whether or not you're going to need that heal or not, depending on the track you're using this on. It's a late surger one. So I could see this one, and it's not too long, at only 2.4 seconds. But I could see its potential on some tracks. But being a stamina card, which is kind of weird and awkward in a certain extent, in the fact that if you, like, I could see this one being good when you don't need stamina as much. Maybe your miles in your sprints. But being a stamina card, you really don't want to bring a stamina card to those. So a very kind of awkward skill in my opinion, or card in my opinion. But, I mean, you'll see that with a lot of, there's a lot of other ones that start, like, down the road as we get them, especially for late surgers, that drain stamina to, you're sacrificing stamina to get either a big speed boost or an acceleration. But to me, easy skip on this one. I mean, Haru Urara and Kuno Dictus. I mean, we have, of course, Summer Maruzensky coming up in the future, as well as Agnes Tachyon, Speed, and Light Hello banners. I mean, you really should be saving for those. So unless you're a whale, I mean, these ones are going to be pretty easy skips. Nothing too crazy there. Now, when it comes to the Umas, we'll take a look at Fine Motion first, and then Curren Chan. I have a little bit to talk about with Curren Chan, because she is a meta Uma that you'll want at one point. But with Fine Motion Wedding, another good thing, she's another one that I like kind of with her kit compared to the OG one that's already come out. In that Fine Motion Wedding, when you look at her aptitudes here, same thing as the OG, Turf A, Mile A, Medium A, really nice for Track Blazer. Long C, she can do the long races for Track Blazer. Generally, you are in shape to be able to win the Arima Kina by the time you get to it. Even with Long C, only Pace A, so a solid 4 A's for making parents if you're going to use her for that aspect, which she can be pretty decent when we take a look at her golds here. Looking at her unique, if well positioned on late race on the final corner or later, increase velocity. If there's a large distance left to the finish, also increase acceleration very slightly. So she does have a slight acceleration. As we're starting to see, these are getting tied to specific tracks and where they're kind of positioning. So you could, when it's well positioned late race on the final corner later, and then it's if there's a large distance left to the finish. So it has the condition here, 401 left. So if there's 401 left to get to there, I believe this one is more of a mile skill. I'm thinking. I don't know which one it's good on off the top of my head, but to get a little bit of acceleration, it is a decent overall one for her. But on Inherit, of course, that acceleration gets completely neutered, so it's basically good for her and her only in that aspect as an Inherit. Is it's only a 0.35 on the speed, down to 0.45 greatly. But the other thing nicer, and the one thing I really like about her over the other one, because the one thing you are sacrificing with Fine Motion is you can't use the Fine Motion Wit card if you MLB'd it. And with her, the OG one came with Speed Star built in, which I was like, it's an okay skill. But this one comes with, like, is very tied to being good at the miles, in that she has mile corners, which is good. Changing gears, good skill right there. Fall runner, so when we do the fall miles, which I don't think we won't have a fall mile until Grand Live, but she'll have fall runner built in. Then we have neck and neck. So this is the gold version of Head On, which is a pretty tricky one to get. We had our first instance, we just saw of it with a support card on the Daiwa Scarlet Power. And we're not going to see it in another support card all the way until KS Miracle Guts. But, I mean, there's going to be so many other cards that have other options. I don't think she's a big pickup. So at this point, she's basically your main option of having it on your Uma. So pretty nice there for a gamble acceleration for her, especially right now with Pace Chasers not having a huge amount of consistency. So just having another acceleration possibility can be pretty nice. Now we get down into here, and her other skills from events is basically the same as the OG. I mean, you have your Head On. Straight descent for the gamble, I believe, on Hanshin. Then you also have, like, for mediums, up tempo, although this one to me is tied to miles. Prepared to pass, which is yellow speed, or the white Speed Star, which, I mean, if Speed Star is strong, this one, since it's not built in and you don't have access to the Fine Motion card, you're not really going to be able to get it. Outside, you will have the white version at least here, or you can even pick that up as a hint through Rivals. Pace Chaser Corner is all you got. I mean, so not too bad on the hints here. She has tons of them that she can kind of get. So overall, not too bad of an Uma. If Fine Motion is an OG, to me, like, I felt that the Wedding one was a better one, which is why I believe I advised on the OG one if you wanted to get the better one to wait for Wedding. Especially as she gets paired with the next Uma we're going to look at in the final one here, which is going to be Curren-chan Wedding. Now, she is a meta Uma, but very, very, very niche. So we'll take a look here. So on the stat bonuses, 10% speed, 10%. Oh, and I forgot to look at that on Fine Motion, I believe. Hers are Guts in Wit. So big Wit, really nice. Not really a big fan of Guts, but then again, Vor Mile Track's pretty good. But on Curren-chan, it's 10% Wit, 10% power, 10% speed. Like, love it. I mean, the only thing I'd say that would make this one better would probably be a 20% power, 10% Wit. Love me having high percentages in power, especially right now. So you can kind of go heavier on hitting your speed to max that and get the power. But still, pretty good right here, getting the main stats up. Especially since she's a sprinter and miler. I mean, more of a sprinter, which we'll see. But you can run her on mile because she's mile D. So you don't even need to worry about Guts as much, or stamina as much. Guts, really, really strong for dueling. So you can do a Guts build and then get your power and speed off of it. So overall, pretty good there. Now, what makes her very niche is going to come to her ult here. And that is, if positioned towards the front with 350 meters or less remaining. So that's the key number there, 350 meters less remaining. There's another Umamusume close behind. The determination to stay ahead makes it easier to break out of the pack. Basically, she gets a 0.3 acceleration and 0.25 speed increase. And this is kind of the key. As you know, with sprints, trying to get that consistent acceleration, very, very hard. At least the last one, you remember, on the straightaway, there was very few options. You had Mummy Creek, you had El Condor Pasa, you had, like, the gamble ones, of course, which was, 90% of the skills that you were taking just to try and get that acceleration. So any Uma that has any form of acceleration gamble that you can get for that is good. But she's 350 meters. The sprints we will be doing in the champions meetings are all going to be 1200, which they start late race at 400 meters. And so this was going to activate late for the acceleration. Now, it does have a decent speed increase, and she will accelerate to that speed quicker. So I will say she's not like dead on arrival in the normal sprints. Just know you're really not going to be able to take as much advantage of this acceleration because it's going to basically be late for the sprints and thus not as strong. But on the 1,000-meter sprints, this will activate basically perfect timing. Now, it is kind of, there's only one time that we actually have an end game on the 1,000 meters. And it's not actually a champions meeting, it's a League of Heroes. And the League of Heroes, I believe it's the Great Food Festival when we have the 1,000-meter sprint League of Heroes. She is going to be super strong on that one, super meta. If you know anything about League of Heroes, the key difference on that one versus champions meeting is you want all of your Umas to do well. You want to get that first, second, and third place because you get points. They accumulate points based on where they place, and a perfect score of 200 requires you to get first, second, and third. She's very strong there and very big meta pick for that. But as you know, I mentioned Great Food Festival scenario, which right now we're on Make a New Track. So you have all the way into basically, if you want her for that big meta reason, you have Grand Live, Grand Masters, Project Lark, and UAF ready go to accumulate her before a Great Food Festival, which I think it's the very first League of Heroes on it that you will need her. If you're willing to spend any money in this game, which I know a lot of people are willing to for the selectors on the support card and Umas, you just need to pick her up at any point all the way up to Great Food Festival, and then you will have her available for the main League of Heroes that she will be meta on. So she's a very easy, in my opinion, skip right now. And then you just buy a selector down the road. Maybe there's no other Umas that you really want if you kind of plan out your polls. And when that opportunity presents itself, you will select her specifically for that one. Now, if you pick her up now, because I feel like Fine Motion's also a decent pickup, and if they're Oshis, and you get her now, hey, you have her ready for then. And to me, she's not terrible over the sprints either, in that it's got speed tied to it. So if she gets a random another acceleration that helps her out early on, then she comes into this one, she can just ultimately win with this as well. Just know it's late and you really can't count on her ult as much. I would actually prefer for normal sprints the OG Curren, and gambling for her to get her ult to have that carryover acceleration and speed into the late race versus hers just having basically an acceleration speed a little bit into the late race. And so that's pretty much her kit. Really good Uma overall. Oh yeah, we haven't looked. Well, that's her unique. Let's look at the rest of her stuff. I mean, it's Curren, very similar to the first one. She has Adored by All. Really nice. This will be very strong on her in that League of Heroes, as well as this is going to decrease everybody else's speed behind you. So not only is this going to help her, it helps your teammates, which in League of Heroes is very important. I could even say this could be useful in the 1200 sprint League of Heroes. Just having a strong debuff, which only she can have. Although, like I said, the OG version has it as well. I would take her in the 1200s over it, but still pretty nice to have it. Will be basically a mandatory pickup as it's a buff not only to her, but your teammates and that. And then she has Turbo Sprint, another good gamble acceleration for all the sprints. You just basically want all of the gamble ones that you can get. And this one only really comes from the Baksheen SSR speed until we get the Chaos Miracle power down the line. Of course, this is the one that Baksheen has built in as well. So both skills are really good. Has sprinting gear, another, and then Pace Chaser Savvy, and also sprint corners. So overall, really, really good. To me, a must pick up at some point before Great Food Festival. So a very easy skip right now. And kind of looking at the banner, I feel like for most people, you should skip her. Unless, of course, you really like her and you want to be able to run her for the next sprint. Because, I mean, the banner we have after, I know one that a lot of people are wanting to pick up is Inari 1. She's kind of like another Agnes Digital, and she can do turf and dirt. Also, she can do, so she's pretty good there. Although I prefer the festival version of her, so to me, she's going to be an easy skip. Sweep Tosho, another favorite that a lot are wanting to pick up, but to me, another easy skip. The biggest thing everybody's waiting for ultimately is going to be the Summer Maruzenski and then Agnes Tachyon, Light Hello. Of course, you have Dirt, Kopano Ricky. So these are all kind of like back to back to back, and you should just be hoarding pulls right now. So if neither of these are an Oshi for you and a must pick up for them being a favorite, they are a very, very easy skip. So that's going to be pretty much everything coming with the wedding event. A lot of stuff being thrown at us. But to me, a lot of easy skips. Just keep saving those carrots. You're going to want to have them for going into that Grand Live banner so you can get Light Hello and maybe get lucky and get that MLB Agnes Tachyon speed. But that's going to be pretty much it for now. And if you like my content, if you like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.